The Moon and the Little Sparrow. The night was not ordinary. It was the kind of night that carried secrets in its silence, the kind of night where the stars shivered like tiny lanterns and the world seemed to hold its breath. Above the sleeping fields and forests, the moon floated like a pale silver queen, cloaked in her radiant light. She gazed down at the earth with her calm, watchful eyes, shining upon villages, rivers, and mountains alike. But little did anyone know that on this particular night, the moon's heart was heavy. She was lonely. Though she ruled the skies, she longed for someone to talk to, someone who would see her not just as a distant glowing light, but as a friend. Far below, nestled on the edge of a quiet forest, there lived a small sparrow, barely grown, with feathers as soft as autumn leaves and eyes that gleamed with curiosity. This sparrow was unlike the others in her flock. While the others spent their days flitting from branch to branch, chirping the same songs and chasing after crumbs of food, the little sparrow often sat alone on the tallest branches at night, staring at the moon. She wondered why the moon never blinked, never flew away, and always seemed so far, yet so near. Her heart, small but bold, whispered questions no bird dared to ask. That night, as the forest settled into silence, the sparrow tilted her head back and sang, not a simple chirp, but a trembling little song full of wonder and longing. To her surprise, the song carried higher and higher, as though the night itself had decided to deliver her voice straight to the heavens. And the moon heard it. For the very first time, the moon bent low, her light stretching across the treetops, touching the little sparrow's branch. The forest glowed silver, and the sparrow's tiny body shivered in awe. Then, in a voice that seemed both like music and wind, the moon spoke. "Little one," she said softly, "why do you sing to me when all others sleep?" The sparrow's beak opened in shock, but instead of fear, her heart filled with joy. She fluffed her feathers and replied, "Because I wonder who you are, because I think you must be lonely, and because your light makes me dream." The moon had never been spoken to like this. Stars had admired her, oceans had obeyed her pull, and poets had written about her glow, but no one had ever spoken to her as a friend. At that moment, something stirred inside her vast heart. From that night on, an unlikely friendship began. The moon and the little sparrow, a bond that would change both their lives, teaching the world that even the smallest voices could reach the farthest skies. The little sparrow could hardly believe what had just happened. She had spoken to the moon, the very same glowing wonder she had stared at since she had first learned to fly. Her tiny heart beat so quickly that she feared it might burst out of her chest. Yet, in the stillness of that enchanted night, she felt braver than she had ever been. "Your light," the sparrow whispered, "is softer than the river's song and warmer than the dawn. Do you not grow tired of watching over us, night after night alone?" The moon's glow shimmered, as if she were smiling. "Indeed, I have grown weary. I am surrounded by countless stars, yet they are far and fleeting. The earth looks up at me but seldom speaks. I am seen, little bird, yet I am rarely known. And you, what makes you stay awake while your kind rests their wings?" The sparrow shuffled on her branch, her claws scratching the bark gently. "I dream," she said shyly. "I dream of things too big for my wings. The other sparrows call me foolish. They say, a sparrow must only fly to the nearest tree, peck at seeds, and chirp simple songs. But she hesitated, as if the words might sound too bold for her small beak. "I want to know the world beyond the treetops. I want to know you." The moon's silvery face softened. She had heard the voices of kings, queens, sailors, and poets for centuries, but never had she heard a creature so small speak with such daring wonder. "Then let us speak, little one. Each night, when you look up, I will listen. And if you are brave enough, I will share with you my secrets, too." The sparrow's wings quivered. A thrill swept through her tiny body. "Oh, moon, truly? You will tell me your secrets?" "Only if you promise not to tell the others," the moon said playfully, her voice glimmering like a silver bell. The sparrow puffed up her feathers proudly. "I promise. A sparrow's heart may be small, but it can keep a secret." And so began their nightly ritual. When darkness fell and the forest grew quiet, the sparrow would perch upon the tallest branch of her tree and wait. The moon would rise, bathing the world in her gentle glow, and together they would speak. The sparrow told stories of her days, how the wind teased her feathers, how the river carried whispers from faraway lands, how she felt both small and infinite when she spread her wings. The moon, in return, told tales of the cosmos, how stars were born in fire, how the earth's oceans rose and fell because of her pull, and how she had watched over countless generations of creatures. Yet, even in all her vast knowledge, the moon learned something she had never understood before: the wonder of smallness. To the moon, who measured time in centuries, a sparrow's heartbeat seemed like the flicker of a candle, but now she saw that within that flicker lived dreams, courage, and longing. One night, as the sparrow gazed at her glowing friend, she asked, "Moon, do you think a sparrow could ever touch the sky?" The moon was silent for a long moment. Finally, she said gently, "Your wings may be small, but your spirit reaches farther than you know. Perhaps it is not about touching the sky, but about daring to dream of it." The little sparrow tucked that answer close to her heart. And though her body remained on the branches of the forest, her soul soared higher than ever before. But as nights turned into weeks, a quiet yearning grew inside her. She loved the moon dearly, but she could not help but wonder, what would it be like to truly be by her side, to dance in her silver glow not from below, but within the heavens themselves? Her little heart whispered a wish she dared not speak aloud. If only I could fly to the moon. The nights passed, and their bond grew stronger. The little sparrow lived for the twilight hour, when the world softened into blue shadows and the moon climbed into the sky. The other sparrows slept peacefully in their nests, but she, the curious dreamer, remained awake. Every word, every story shared with the moon felt like a treasure tucked under her feathers. Yet, with each passing night, her longing grew. She admired the moon's brilliance, but her heart ached with the distance between them. She perched higher on her tree, stretching her wings as though that extra inch might bring her closer. Sometimes, she would leap into the night, flapping furiously, her tiny body trembling with effort, as if sheer willpower might lift her all the way to her silver friend. But no matter how hard she tried, she always returned, exhausted, to the same branch, her wings sore and her heart heavy. The moon, who saw everything, noticed. Her silvery gaze was gentle, but sharp enough to pierce the little bird's heart. "Little one," she said one evening, "why do you tire yourself so? You leap into the air as though trying to chase the stars. What is it you seek?" The sparrow froze. She hadn't wanted the moon to know. She feared her longing might sound childish, even foolish, to such a grand and ancient being. She looked down at her claws gripping the bark and whispered, "I want to be near you, not just look at you from below, but truly fly to you, even if just once." The forest went still. The moon's glow softened into something like sorrow. "Ah," she murmured, "so that is the wish that flickers inside your heart." The sparrow lifted her head anxiously. "Is it wrong to wish so high? The other sparrows would laugh at me. They'd say, 'How can a tiny sparrow fly to the moon? Your wings are too weak. The sky is too wide. Stay in your tree and be content.' But when I see you, when I hear you, something inside me refuses to be content. I want to try." For a long while, the moon did not speak. She understood longing all too well. For centuries she had gazed down at the earth, yearning to touch it, to walk among its rivers and forests, but bound by her place in the heavens. She knew the pain of a dream too distant to grasp. And yet, hearing those words from such a small, fragile creature stirred something deep inside her: hope. "Little sparrow," the moon said at last, her voice shimmering like the ripples on a midnight lake, "there are wishes that seem impossible, and yet it is in chasing them that hearts discover their strength. If you truly long to reach me, then perhaps there is a way." The sparrow's eyes widened. Her wings quivered with excitement. Away? You mean it isn't just a foolish dream? The moon's light brightened, spilling over the forest in a silver glow. Every dream is a seed, she said gently. Some grow into flowers, others into trees, and some into paths that lead to places beyond imagination. But such paths are not easy, little one. They demand courage, sacrifice, and a heart that refuses to break. Do you possess such a heart? The sparrow puffed up her chest, though her voice trembled. I do. Even if I am small, even if my wings tire, I will not give up. For to be near you, moon, I would try 1,000 times. The moon gazed at her for a long time, and in her vast, eternal heart, she felt something she had never known before. Faith in something so small, so fragile, yet so fiercely determined. Then listen well, little sparrow, she whispered. The journey to me will not be made by wings alone. You must find 3 gifts scattered across the world, each holding a piece of strength greater than yourself. Only with these may you reach the heavens. The sparrow's heart raced. 3 gifts? A quest? It sounded both frightening and wondrous. Yet without hesitation, she chirped, Tell me, moon. Where must I go? What must I seek? And thus, under the silver glow of the night, the moon began to reveal the path, a path that would carry the sparrow farther than any of her kind had ever dared to dream. The forest was hushed as the moon's voice unfolded like a secret hymn, wrapping itself around the little sparrow's heart. Her silver glow seemed brighter than ever, as though the heavens themselves leaned in to listen. The first gift you must find, the moon said, is the feather of courage. It lies in the mountain of winds, where storms gather and whirl without rest. There an eagle dwells, ancient, fierce, and proud. From his wings, you must earn a single feather. Without courage, no journey can begin, and without his blessing, your wings will falter before the skies. The sparrow trembled. She had seen eagles from afar, majestic shadows that soared above the forest, their wings vast as sails. They were hunters, feared by all small birds. To approach one seemed unthinkable. And yet, when she looked up at the moon, she saw not fear but trust glowing in those gentle silver eyes. Moon, the sparrow whispered, how can a creature so small as I stand before an eagle? The moon's smile softened her glow. Courage is not the absence of fear, little one. It is the strength to fly despite it. Trust that your spirit is greater than your size. The sparrow tucked those words close to her heart. Then, with a deep breath, she flapped her wings and chirped, I will go. I will find the feather of courage. The moon's light stretched like a gentle caress across her tiny back. Then fly, little one. Remember, though you cannot always see me, I will always be watching. And so, before dawn touched the sky, the sparrow left her familiar forest behind. She flew over meadows still cloaked in dew, rivers whispering under the fading stars, and valleys where shadows clung like forgotten dreams. The world was wider than she had ever known, and though her wings grew tired, her heart beat strong with purpose. After many days, the land began to change. Hills rose higher, sharper, until they became mountains crowned with mist. The air grew wild and restless, tugging at her feathers, tossing her about like a leaf in a storm. This, she knew, must be the mountain of winds. Perching on a jagged rock, she peered upward. The sky above the peaks was alive with swirling clouds, spinning and roaring with invisible power. And there, cutting across the storm with wings vast and unyielding, soared the eagle. His feathers were dark as storm clouds, tipped with gold where the sun struck them. His cry was sharp as thunder, echoing down the cliffs. The little sparrow's heart pounded. Never had she seen such majesty, nor felt so small. Her claws gripped the rock, and for a moment doubt whispered, You are only a sparrow. How can you ask anything of him? But then she remembered the moon's words, Trust that your spirit is greater than your size. Gathering her courage, the sparrow lifted into the air, her wings beating furiously against the mountain winds. Higher and higher she climbed, until at last the eagle's piercing eyes fell upon her. He circled once, then swooped down with terrifying speed, the wind splitting around him. His shadow swallowed the sparrow as he landed upon a cliff, his talons gripping stone like iron. "Who dares fly into my sky?" the eagle thundered, his voice booming like the storm. "What tiny creature dares disturb me?" The sparrow's feathers quivered, but she held her ground. She bowed her head and chirped as steadily as she could. "Great eagle, I am but a small sparrow, yet I seek a feather from your wings. The moon herself has sent me on a journey, and without your gift, I cannot begin." For a long, tense moment, the eagle was silent. His golden eyes burned into her, fierce and unblinking. Then he let out a deep, rolling laugh, sharp as crashing stone. "A feather? From me? You are bold indeed, little one. Do you not fear that I might make you my prey?" The sparrow lifted her head, though her body shook. "I am afraid, but my wish is greater than my fear. I seek the moon, and I will not turn back." The eagle tilted his head, studying her. Then, with a great rustle of wings, he said, "So be it. If you would claim a feather of courage, you must prove you have courage indeed. Fly with me into the heart of the storm. If you survive, you may have what you seek." The sparrow's breath caught. The storm above roared like a furious beast, lightning flickering in its belly. Yet something inside her sparked with determination. She spread her wings and chirped, "Then I will fly with you." The eagle let out a piercing cry, and together they leapt into the storm. The storm was alive. It roared with a voice that shook the mountains, its winds howling like wolves set loose upon the sky. Clouds swirled in furious spirals, flashes of lightning tore open the heavens, and rain lashed down in wild sheets. To most birds, it was a place to flee from, but for the sparrow, it was a trial she could not refuse. The eagle soared upward with powerful strokes, cutting through the chaos as though the storm itself bent to his will. Below him, the sparrow struggled. Each gust slammed against her small body, tossing her sideways, forcing her wings to fight harder and harder. Her chest burned with the effort, her feathers drenched, her tiny heart hammering like a drum. "Come higher, little one," the eagle's voice thundered through the wind. "Show me that your spirit is not broken." The sparrow grit her beak and pressed on. The storm seemed determined to break her, to hurl her back down the mountainside. For every inch she climbed, she was forced back too. Lightning flashed so close that it seared her vision, and the thunder cracked with such force it felt as though the sky itself would shatter. Fear coiled inside her chest like a snake. A whisper grew in her mind. "You are only a sparrow. This storm is too strong. Let go. Fall." But then she remembered the moon's gentle glow, her voice like a lullaby. "Trust that your spirit is greater than your size." And she remembered the promise she had made. "Even if I am small, I will not give up." The sparrow screeched against the storm, a cry so small the winds should have devoured it, yet it carried, wild and fierce. With every ounce of strength she had, she pressed her wings harder, rising inch by inch, clawing her way upward through the furious sky. The eagle watched her, his golden eyes sharp. He could see how the storm tore at her feathers, how her fragile body trembled, yet still she fought. With a piercing cry, he dove through the maelstrom, swooping beside her. "Good," he bellowed. "Do not flee from the storm. Become part of it. Let it lift you." The sparrow blinked against the rain, struggling to understand. But then she noticed, the eagle was not only resisting the wind, he was using it. His wings tilted into the gusts, his body curving with the currents. The storm was no longer his enemy, it was his ally. With trembling courage, the sparrow imitated him. She let the wind catch under her wings, guiding instead of fighting it. At first, she was tossed about, her heart leaping in panic. But then, suddenly, the gusts lifted her higher, carrying her upward in great sweeping arcs. She felt herself rising faster, soaring through the storm's veins, carried not by strength but by trust. A spark lit in her heart. For the first time, she was not merely a sparrow battling the sky, she was part of the sky itself. The eagle's cry echoed across the storm, proud and fierce.
Yes.
That is courage, not in the absence of fear, but in the choice to fly despite it. Together, Sparrow and Eagle burst through the top of the clouds into a world of breathtaking calm. The storm raged below them, but above, the sky was vast and clear, painted with 1,000 gleaming stars. The moon hung there, glowing brighter than ever, as though watching their trial with shining eyes. The sparrow gasped, her tiny chest heaving. Never had she flown so high, never had she seen the stars this close, never had she felt her heart so alive. She chirped in joy, her voice carrying into the still heavens. The eagle hovered beside her, his wings spread wide like sails of night. His gaze softened, no longer fierce but full of respect. Little sparrow, you have proven yourself. You faced the storm not with strength of body, but with strength of spirit. For that, I grant you what you seek. With a great rustle, he plucked a single feather from his wing. It shimmered with golden edges, fierce yet radiant. Holding it out in his beak, he dropped it gently into the sparrow's waiting claws. The feather of courage. It was warm, pulsing faintly as though alive, filling her with a strength she had never known. She tucked it carefully beneath her wing, her heart swelling with pride. "Thank you, great eagle," she chirped, bowing low in midair. "I will carry this feather with honor." The eagle gave a mighty cry that rolled like thunder across the peaks. "Fly true, little one. Your path will not be easy, but your courage will carry you farther than you know." The sparrow glanced once more at the moon, who glowed in quiet approval, her light shimmering like a smile across the heavens. Then, with her first gift secured, the sparrow turned her wings toward the next part of her journey, her spirit brighter than ever. When the sparrow returned to her quiet forest, the stars still glittered above, but she was no longer the same little bird who had once only dreamed beneath their glow. Tucked under her wing was the feather of courage, and tucked inside her chest was a strength she had never felt before. Though her body was weary, her spirit soared higher than the treetops, higher even than the tallest mountains. She perched on her branch and looked up at the moon, her heart swelling with pride. "Moon," she chirped breathlessly. "I did it. I flew through the storm and earned the feather of courage. The eagle himself gave it to me." The moon's light shimmered gently, as though in delight. "I saw, little one. You soared higher than even you believed you could. The storm tested you, and you answered it with bravery. You have taken your first step upon the path." The sparrow puffed her feathers proudly. "What comes next? Tell me the second gift. I am ready." The moon grew thoughtful, her glow softening like the hush of nightfall. "The second gift is the tear of kindness. It lies not in mountains or skies, but in the heart of the world, where sorrow dwells. To find it, you must journey to the river of broken wings. There, you will meet those who have forgotten how to fly. From them, you must earn a tear, not by force, but by compassion." The sparrow tilted her head.
A tear?
How can something so small be a gift? The moon's voice deepened, full of wisdom. "Courage may carry your wings, but kindness will carry your soul. Without it, even the bravest heart will grow hard. A tear of kindness is not given lightly, little one. It is born from healing another's pain. You must give before you can receive." The sparrow's tiny chest swelled with determination. "Then I will go, moon. Show me the way to this river." The moon stretched her light across the land, pointing her silver finger eastward. "Follow the morning sun until it sets again, and you will find the river flowing beneath the shadow of the weeping willows. There, your trial awaits." The sparrow bowed her head, her feathers quivering with resolve. "I will not fail." And so, as dawn painted the sky with gold, the sparrow set out once more. She flew over rolling meadows where wildflowers bowed in the wind, over fields where farmers tilled the soil, and through valleys where deer lifted their heads to watch her pass. The feather of courage glowed faintly beneath her wing, filling her with steady strength when weariness threatened to slow her down. After a long and tiring journey, she reached a place where the earth seemed hushed with sorrow. The trees grew heavy with drooping branches, their leaves like tears falling into the water below. The air was cool and still, and the river that flowed through it was dark, reflecting shadows more than light. And there, along its banks, the sparrow saw them. Birds of many kinds, swans, doves, nightingales, and even small robins, sat in silence, their wings folded, their eyes dim. Some had feathers bent and broken, others looked too weary to move. Their songs had fallen silent. Their spirits seemed to have withered. They were the ones who had given up flying, their hope stolen by sorrow. The little sparrow's heart tightened. Never had she seen so much sadness gathered in one place. She fluttered down to the riverbank and chirped softly. "Why do you sit here in silence, my friends? Why do you not sing or fly?" A dove lifted her head, her eyes tired and dull. "We are the broken ones," she murmured. "The storms of life took our strength, the winds stole our joy, and now we rest here by the river, waiting for time to pass. What use is there in flying when the sky has turned against us?" The sparrow's chest ached. She thought of the storm she had faced, the fear that had nearly crushed her, and how the eagle had taught her to see the wind not as her enemy, but as her ally. She wanted to tell them that they could rise again, that their wings still had worth. But she remembered the moon's words, "A tear of kindness is not given by command. It is borne by compassion." So she did not scold, nor boast of her courage. Instead, she hopped closer, her tiny voice gentle as she said, "Perhaps the sky has been cruel, but it still waits for you. I am only a sparrow, small and fragile, but I have seen storms, too. I have felt fear and I have fallen. Yet each time, the sky has also lifted me. Perhaps, if you tried once more, it would lift you too." The birds listened in silence, their eyes heavy with doubt. But one, an old swan with feathers gray as winter clouds, looked at the sparrow with faint curiosity. "And if we try, little one, and we fall again?" The sparrow stepped closer, her voice trembling but true. "Then I will be there to lift you. Even if my wings are small, my heart will not leave you behind." A hush fell over the riverbank. Slowly, as if afraid, the swan lowered his head, and from his eyes slipped a single shining tear. It fell into the river, rippling with silver light. The sparrow gasped softly, for the tear glowed with a warmth unlike anything she had seen before. She knew, with certainty, that this was the tear of kindness. She caught it carefully in a fallen petal, cradling it like a jewel. It glimmered softly, filling her heart with a tenderness that was stronger than any storm. The other birds watched in wonder, and for the first time in years, a faint murmur of song rose among them, uncertain but real. The sparrow chirped back, her voice bright and hopeful, and the river seemed to sing with them. Lifting her head toward the sky, the sparrow whispered, "Moon, I have found the tear of kindness." And though the moon was hidden behind the day, the sparrow felt her presence, glowing softly in her heart. That night, when the sky darkened once more and the stars returned to their places, the little sparrow perched on her highest branch, the feather of courage tucked safely beneath one wing, and the tear of kindness cradled in the other. She lifted her gaze to the heavens, her chest glowing with both pride and humility. "Moon," she whispered joyfully, "I have returned. The eagle tested me in the storm, and I earned his feather. At the river, I found the tear of kindness. Tell me now, what is the final gift?" The moon glowed brighter, her silver face radiant with pride. "You have done well, little one. Courage and kindness are the wings of the heart. But there is one final gift you must earn, and it is the hardest of all. The last gift is the stone of sacrifice. Without it, no creature can reach me." The sparrow tilted her head, puzzled. "A stone? How can a stone help me fly?" The moon's glow softened, tinged with sorrow. "It is not a stone of weight, but of truth. To claim it, you must give up something dear to you. Only by surrendering what you treasure most can the heavens open their path. For sacrifice is the final measure of love." The sparrow's feathers trembled. Give up something dear? Her heart was small, but it brimmed with dreams, dreams of the sky, of the moon, of soaring beyond her limits. What could she give that was greater than her own longing? "Where must I go to find the stone?" she asked softly. "You will not travel far," the moon whispered. "For the stone is not hidden in mountains or rivers, but in your own heart. The trial will find you." The sparrow's chest tightened. She wanted to ask more, but the moon's light dimmed into silence, as though the heavens themselves had closed their lips. Days passed. The sparrow flew through her forest and meadows, carrying the feather and the tear, waiting for the final trial to reveal itself. At times she grew restless, other times fearful. What sacrifice could possibly be asked of her? One evening, as the sun sank low and shadows stretched long, she heard a cry. Faint, trembling, and desperate. She darted through the trees and found a small nest teetering at the edge of a branch, its woven twigs fraying. Inside, 3 tiny chicks cheeped in panic, the wind threatening to send them tumbling into the darkness below. The sparrow's heart clenched. Without hesitation, she fluttered to the nest, bracing her tiny body against the branch. She chirped frantically, calling for their mother, but no bird came. The wind grew stronger, and one of the chicks slid dangerously close to the edge. The sparrow lunged, gripping the chick with her claws and pulling it back to safety. But as she did, the nest shifted again, the twigs breaking apart. She realized with horror that the nest was too weak to hold them all. If she did not act, the chicks would fall. Her mind raced. She was small, too small to carry all 3 at once. She could save them only by giving something of herself. In that moment she understood. This was her trial. This was the sacrifice the moon had spoken of. The sparrow pressed the feather of courage and the tear of kindness to her chest. They were her treasures, her proof of the journey she had taken, her hope of reaching the moon. But now, could she let them go? She looked at the chicks, their beaks open in helpless cries. Their lives weighed heavier than her dream. With trembling wings, the sparrow placed the glowing feather into the nest, its warmth weaving through the twigs and binding them stronger. Then she let the tear of kindness drip onto the nest, its silver glow sealing the cracks with gentle light. The nest steadied, whole once more, cradling the chicks safely. The sparrow panted, her heart aching with both loss and love. She had given up her treasures, yet the chicks chirped in joy, saved from the fall. At that moment, the sky above her stirred. A single star shot across the heavens, and where it vanished, a small stone fell gently onto her branch. It was smooth, glowing faintly with silver light. She knew at once, this was the stone of sacrifice. Her wings trembled as she picked it up, its weight both heavy and light, like the memory of a choice that could never be undone. Above, the moon glowed with quiet pride. "You have given up what was dearest to you, little one, and in doing so, you have gained more than courage and kindness. You have gained the heart of sacrifice. That is the true key to the heavens." The sparrow bowed her head, tears glimmering in her eyes. She no longer carried the feather or the tear, yet she felt stronger than ever. For in their place, she carried something deeper, proof that love could outshine even longing. Now, with the 3 gifts complete, the path to the moon was ready to open. The forest lay in silence that night, as though every leaf and root knew that something greater than itself was about to happen. The little sparrow perched upon her highest branch once more, the stone of sacrifice glowing faintly against her chest. Though she no longer had the feather of courage or the tear of kindness, their essence lived in her heart, guiding every beat of her wings. Above, the moon shone brighter than ever, draped in silver light, her voice like a lullaby that filled the air. "You have done all that was asked of you, little one. You faced the storm, you carried kindness, and you gave your treasures away for love. Now the heavens will open their path. But beware, this flight will demand all of you. Only hearts that burn brighter than fear may reach me." The sparrow trembled, but her gaze did not falter. "I am ready, moon." The moon's light poured downward, forming a pale ribbon of silver mist that stretched from the treetops into the endless sky. It shimmered like a bridge of dreams, fragile yet inviting. The sparrow spread her wings and leapt. Her tiny body rose through the air, the silver ribbon pulling her upward. She felt lighter than she had ever felt, as though each flap carried not just her own weight, but the love and sacrifice she bore. Stars flickered around her, whispering encouragement. "Fly, little one, fly." But the higher she climbed, the stronger the winds became. They roared against her, trying to hurl her back to the earth. Her wings ached, her breath grew ragged, and her heart pounded in her fragile chest. "I am too small," she whispered, doubt curling at the edge of her resolve. Yet then she remembered the eagle in the storm, who had told her courage was not strength, but the will to rise. She remembered the river's tear, how kindness had healed and nourished. And most of all, she remembered the chicks in the nest, safe because she had chosen love over herself. Her heart blazed. "I may be small," she cried into the wind, "but my love is larger than the sky." With a final burst of strength, she pushed through the storm. The wind howled and clawed, but the ribbon of light carried her higher, higher, until the world below was no more than a shadow. At last, she broke free into stillness. The air was calm. The stars sang softly, and before her loomed the moon, vast and radiant, her silver face aglow with joy. The sparrow hovered, exhausted but shining, the stone of sacrifice glowing against her chest like a second heart. "You have done what no sparrow has done before," the moon whispered. "You are small, but your heart is vast. And so I welcome you." She stretched her light around the sparrow, lifting her gently until she rested upon the moon's surface. It was cool, soft, and glowing, like standing upon the skin of a dream. The sparrow looked around in awe. Craters sparkled like bowls of starlight, and the horizon curved endlessly in silver. She had reached the unreachable. She had touched the moon. The moon bent low, her voice tender. "You cannot stay here forever, little one. The earth still needs your song. But wherever you fly, you will never be alone. For the light of the moon will follow you, and your story will live in the stars." The sparrow's eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow, but of wonder. She bowed her tiny head. "Thank you, moon, for believing in me." The moon's light wrapped around her once more, carrying her gently back down through the sky. She floated past the stars, through the ribbon of mist, and down into the forest she called home. When her feet touched her old branch again, the night was silent, the forest still. But the sparrow was no longer the same. Her feathers shimmered faintly with silver, and in her song was a softness and strength that touched all who heard it. And so, whenever the night grew still and the moon shone high, the little sparrow would lift her voice. Her song carried the courage of storms, the kindness of rivers, and the sacrifice of love. The forest creatures would pause to listen, and even the stars seemed to lean closer, as though remembering her flight. And high above, the moon glowed a little brighter, proud of the sparrow who had once been small, but had proven herself greater than the sky.